I'm Dr. Jolanda Harris. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to complete this performance task. The process that I used to organize this lead performance task began with me creating a graphic organizer with 4 squares. And I've demonstrated my 4 squares on the dry erase board here. I started off with scheduled meetings because if it's scheduled, it's automatically going on the calendar. So I identified the two that were on the calendar, and it was the IEP meeting and the data meeting. Then I looked at those that had deadlines. The ones that had deadlines were I needed to follow up about an observation with the teacher. His name is David. And in doing so, I know that there's a time frame that I need to give him feedback. So I wanted to make sure that was at the top of my list. And also, I needed to prepare for a presentation for a leadership meeting for next week. And so I wanted to put that on the calendar to do a little bit every day so that I could review it and do the very best that I could in presenting all the amazing things that my team is doing. And then I listed the parents. There was an angry parent that called several times regarding her child not being able to finish the test. And I wanted to address that because if she called that many times, then that means that that's a fire that I need to address. And then there were several things that involve teachers that happen either during the day or over the course of the night. And I listed those. Doing it like this gives me opportunity to see which areas have key individuals that I can address right away. Also, I'm able to look within a certain section and determine whether or not it is a fire or, something urgent that I need to address. Is it a scheduled meeting? And can it be delegated? Okay? And that's how I started off by separating the task. Now, the next thing that I did was I altered the schedule a little bit. Instead of just listing it the way that was listed on the form that was sent to me. I changed the increments to 15-minute increments because if it's 15 minutes, then I know I specifically have 15 minutes to speak to a teacher, 15 minutes to respond to an email, as opposed to 30-minute intervals or an hour interval, because a lot of time that's time wasted during the day. And I want to be as efficient as possible if I'm selected as a lead teacher. So I also added columns. My columns consist of time, task event, urgent, and the action that was taken. And I mentioned that the first thing that I put on the calendar was the IEP meeting and the data meeting with Jenny. The IEP meeting was scheduled to last only 30 minutes. However, on my schedule, I allocated 60 minutes just in case the parents had questions or concerns. Also on the calendar, I planned for a specific time to return emails and to make phone calls. And I planned it to be in the latter part of the afternoon if it was not one of those that was an urgent situation or a fire that needed to be addressed first thing in the morning. Like one of the fires that needed to be addressed first thing in the morning was the teacher, Lauren, whose internet went out and she was unable to sign in to her first period class. And I selected to contact the grade level team members to assist with covering class until she could sign on once she reached the library. And the second thing I would do that morning would be to contact the ELA teacher to see if she had spoken with the angry parent and addressed their concerns. If so, then that was one thing that I would not have to address. But if not, I allocated 15 minutes to contact the parent and discuss any issues just to kind of give them an opportunity to speak their side as well and see if we could remedy the situation. The second thing was, what did I find most exciting? Well, I like to be creative, so I found the PowerPoint and just leading a professional development or giving shout outs to our amazing team that's doing amazing things. So I thought that it would be, it's kind of fun to create a PowerPoint and share those good things and highlight those teachers that are doing awesome things. So I found the PowerPoint to be most exciting. And the third thing was, what was most intimidating to me? And I would have to say the Jigsaw crisis, because I'm not familiar with the Jigsaw software, although I know that I can get in and work with it. But it seemed as if it was maybe a hardware issue or a software issue. And I wanted to make sure that as a lead, you always want to feel like you can handle all situations and you can fix everything. But that would definitely be one of the situations that I would delegate. And fourthly, you asked, what was the easiest thing? I would have to add contacting parents and following up with teachers along with the PowerPoints. Contacting parents and following up with teachers, to me, it's easy. It's what I've done for 20 years. Giving a listening ear, just knowing when to speak and when to just lay back and allow them to express their concerns and share their issues, and wait for my opportunity to see what I could do to help. I think it's important to give teachers and parents opportunity to vent if that's the case. And fifthly, you ask, what was most surprising to me? And I like that question because initially I was like, there was nothing surprising, but I went back and looked at it carefully. What was surprising was that the angry parent left 3 voicemails at night. That was something that sent off a red flag, and I knew that had to be addressed that morning. The other thing that surprised me was that Teacher Becca texted me all night. Texting, after a while, after a certain time, it becomes a little bit unprofessional. So I kind of want to make sure that I address the professional etiquette as far as texting is concerned. And that was something that I wanted to make sure that I set up a time and discuss with her. So with my schedule, I started my day off, as I stated earlier, with Teacher Lauren, and the angry parent was next. And I decided that I would contact the parent after speaking with the teacher. Susan has not posted grades again. And it's important that teachers meet the deadlines to post grades, because in some situations, it can hold up the entire school from posting. And in some instances, depending on how it's done, it can hold up the entire, not just grade level, but the school. I think I said the school. Okay. And then since I have a data meeting planned with Jenny, and I'm, according to the list of tasks, I'm not prepared. So I hate to reschedule, because I think that's very unprofessional. If I set a time to be somewhere and complete a task, I want to make sure that I'm doing just that. So I decided at 9 o'clock to begin gathering data to determine whether or not I could complete that task. And when it was determined that I could complete that task, I started working on gathering the data and preparing for my data meeting with Jenny. So I took about 45 minutes prior to the IEP meeting and gathered the data. After the IEP meeting, I went right back to gathering data because I think at that point it becomes important that I keep my word and I meet that deadline with her because she has her information and she's ready to share. I need to do the same thing. It's only the right thing to do. So I spent roughly about another hour and a half working on gathering data to present to Jenny. And I had initially scheduled lunch from 12:30 to 1, but if I have not finished gathering data, it will be a working lunch. And I have allocated 1 hour for my meeting with Jenny to discuss data. And then after that, from 2 o'clock to about 3:45, I decided that I would return phone calls and make my email calls. Make my emails, send out my emails. And one of the first phone calls that I made was to David because I shared with him that I would give him a call the next day to provide the information. And according to TEACS, you know that you have a certain time limit that you have to share that information. And the sooner the better, because discussing the observation when it's fresh is a lot easier than waiting a couple of days and then discussing it. And we're both going, I think this is what happened, as opposed to definitely knowing what we experienced and saw during the observation. And after that, I'm going to call the teacher and follow up about the unknown issue. Now that one was something to think about because the teacher didn't give any inclination of what the situation or the issue was. And so I decided instead of just giving her 15 minutes that in my schedule, I would plan for 30 minutes because it could be something very serious. And I did not want to rush a teacher if it was something about their health or their family, because if she thought enough to want to schedule that time, then I need to make sure I allocate that time. And with teacher Becca that was texting all night, I decided that I would email her and schedule a Zoom meeting, and so that I can get a better understanding of why she's so upset. And we can go from there, and perhaps I can speak to teacher Alicia and discuss, what it is. I think it's teacher Ashley, and discuss, how we could better support each other and, how to give constructive criticism. Okay? Because that's what it seems like. And then I decided I would start working on my PowerPoint at about 3:45 after I had made my calls and emails. And if I allocate about an hour in the afternoon to work on it, I should be more than prepared to present next week so that I can put all the bells and whistles and I can share all the great details of all the amazing things that we're doing. And that sums up how I progressed through this performance task. And I want to thank you again for this opportunity, and I look forward to proceeding on to phase 2. Thank you.